Is my website visible in Google? What keywords should I target? Who are my competitors? And what do they do to rank high? Find all the answers you need with SE Ranking. Make sense of complex data through analysis, reports, and dashboards. No magic, just the proper SEO tool.
Hello everyone, and thank you for joining us today. We are here for this search engine ranking webinar. I'll be your host, Jessica Milner from Absolute Digital Media, and this is George who will be leading the session today all around building topical authority.
Hello Jessica, and welcome to everyone who is joining us today.
Fantastic. So hopefully you can hear and see us both. If you can just let us know by writing in the chat box that you're here, and let us know where you're joining from. I'm here in the UK, George is in Greece, so we've already been discussing about our different time zones, so see how many time zones we can get here today. And also feel free to write in the chat box kind of what your role is within SEO, whether you're a business owner, whether you kind of work in SEO yourself, or whether you're in an agency, or if you're just learning it from scratch now and you're kind of a little bit of a novice, and we'll be able to share with you some tips and tricks along the way. So just a little bit about me. So long bio on the screen now. I don't feel you have to read it all. But yeah, I am a senior account manager or senior SEO manager at Absolute Digital Media. We are a digital marketing agency based in the UK. So we service clients from all different industries. And myself, one of my special areas is within certain areas of SEO, looking into the content. So thank you everyone for your messages. So far I'm seeing we've got people from Denmark, Ohio, Egypt, Madrid, Toronto, Denver. So we are absolutely worldwide, George. So I hope you're prepared for what's going to be a really good session. So before we go any further, I just wanted to mention, obviously, the situation that is currently going on in Ukraine. Although I am absolutely thrilled to be here as the host today, it's actually an unfortunate reason that I am here, as the normal moderator and host, Andrew, is actually unable to lead the webinar today as he is still in Ukraine. He is in a safe place, but obviously it's very difficult for him to host a webinar as would be quite normal. So we will be sharing a link in the chat box with more information on how you can support Ukraine, how you can donate. So if you have anything that you can spare or anything that you can give, it would mean a lot for this amazing company putting this on today and the beautiful country of Ukraine. So just to begin this session, I'd like to share with you a little bit of a rough agenda, a few introductions to make. And then, as I mentioned, George will be sharing his wonderful presentation, which I know people have been asking for and wanting for a while, seeing as we had to postpone it. So I will be going through that. So yeah, just running through a little bit of the agenda. So introduction, presentation from me, just a few sections within SE Ranking, and then how that works as a platform, and what we recommend looking into today. So another point, obviously, thank you everyone for writing some notes in the comments saying where you're from. If you have any questions at any point through any of these sessions, please just put the question in here and we'll do a question and answer after George has finished his presentation. So there are a few unique opportunities at the end of this webinar. So SE Ranking have put on some great offers for you for joining us today. So here it is, we'll go through it. Oh, I apologise. You probably have all just heard my dog howl. That was definitely not part of the agenda. So a little bit of information about SE Ranking. So it's an all-in-one SEO platform that covers both the essential and advanced tools for SEO monitoring and market analysis. An SEO platform is for everyone. So as I mentioned at the start, just looking into whether you're a business owner, whether you're an SEO pro, whether you're an agency. It's got so many different capabilities and so many different opportunities that you can run through. And yeah, whether you want a little bit more accurate position tracking, whether you want something more specific around those backlinks, or actually if you really want to white label it as an agency and then put it out there as well. And thank you, Joel, for telling me that your dog loves it too, because that makes me feel a little bit more at ease. It's not just my dog that howls at the postman all the time. So yeah, and just in terms of the actual platform, so it has been rated as the easiest to use SEO platform. So these are just a couple of the awards that we've got. So yeah, if there is any questions that you've got at any point, please do just pop them in the comments box, and we'll be running through this presentation. So yeah, without further ado, George, the stage is yours.
Thank you very much for the intro, Jessica. Let me share my screen with you all so that we can get right into it. Just let me know if you can see what I see, please.
Yeah.
Okay, that's great. So let's get started. We have many things to cover today. I'm really excited about this because we have been discussing and working on topical authority for quite a while now internally. And I know that it's a topic that interests many people and many SEO professionals as well. So really excited about it. It's going to be pretty intense, a lot of information, but please bear with me until the end because I guess that you will definitely learn things that you haven't seen anywhere else before. Okay, so a couple of things about me before we get started. I'm the managing director at Minucia. Minucia is an organic growth acceleration agency for B2B SaaS companies, software companies, and as I mentioned, we've been working very, very hard with regards to topical authority and how you can build that and how you can better understand and approach it for quite a while now. And we have developed some proprietary methods as well when it comes to understanding topical authority for a website based on specific topics that the website is interested in. So that's it when it comes to who I am and what I do. Obviously, we will be sharing more information towards the end of the presentation. But for now, let's get right into the content. Let's start with the definition of topical authority. What is topical authority? Essentially, building topical authority means that we try to help as a website Google and other search engines, but we will be mostly focused on Google since this is the most prominent search engine, associate that website with certain topics that are closely related to the website's identity and overall business goals and objectives. Okay, so essentially, building topical authority is us trying to be associated with certain topics in the eyes of Google. Now, why is doing that important for any given website? I see three prominent reasons why. The first one is that Google is a search engine that works with semantic associations. The second, it has to associate a website with certain topics, and then it can consider giving it a position among the rankings in the top 100. And obviously, what we mostly crave for is the top 10 search results. And obviously, we have to understand that for a website to rank higher in search, Google first has to associate it with the topics it's interested in. One of the things that new clients, in some cases, especially when we're talking about new websites, smaller websites, ask us when they reach out is, okay, for example, we are building a CRM software and we would like to rank for the term CRM software. That's great, but it's not as easy as launching a landing page on CRM software and that's it, you will get the rankings, because there are websites out there like Zoho CRM, for example, that have thousands of pages, hundreds of or thousands of pages in some cases around this specific topic. And thus, they have managed to associate themselves with the topic of CRM software. Okay, so things are not so easy as we may think they are. And building topical authority is the way to get visibility for the terms that are most important for us for various reasons. Now, where does topical authority come into play? In general, we have four phases when it comes to organic search. Google has to discover your content. So the first phase is discovering. Okay, it has to be discovered. There is an algorithm that's dedicated to doing exactly that. Then it has to be crawled. Okay, your content or a page has been discovered by the search engine crawler, for example, Googlebot. Then it has to be crawled. Obviously, After it has been crawled, it can get a specific place in the index, okay? And in order for that to happen, the crawling process has to be successful, okay? And last but not least, it will get rankings based on the position and the associations Google has made for it. And it will rank, or it may not rank, whenever there are relevant queries for that specific page. Now, I know that most of us are interested in rankings, obviously, but I want you to know that when it comes to topical authority, I would say that a big part of where topical authority happens and is, let's say, affects is obviously indexing as well, okay? Because once again, you build topical authority and you are able to position yourself in a better place inside Google's index, okay? Now, how does Google make these associations? And forgive me that I will share with you a couple of important, let's say, historic facts that happen. But I think they are important in order for us to understand that this is not something that has started, yesterday. Google is working on that for many, many years. This is why it has developed such a great understanding of topical associations for a specific website. So the first event that I would like to mention is Knowledge Graph. In 2012, Google launched the Knowledge Graph, which, according to Wikipedia, is a graphical database that helps Google understands the association between different entities. And we will get a bit deeper into that in a minute. Then we have RankBrain in 2015, where essentially Google has announced back then that they have been using a machine learning system that's part of the algorithm, and they use it to match search queries with the most relevant search results. Then in 2018, we have neural matching. We had, once again, an announcement that Google is using a neural matching algorithm this time to make a better sense of concepts such as synonyms, which was not so easy a few years prior to that. And in 2019, we had BERT, which essentially is a neural network-based technique for Google to have natural language understanding, okay, in order to understand both implicit and explicit language. So what I'm trying to say here is that building topical authority isn't so easy because, quite simply, Google is developing the way it understands and makes sense of pages and contexts and so on for many, many years now. Now, I would like to share an example with you since we touched on entities a bit. And as you can see here, we are in Google's NLP API. Anyone can use it for free. They can go on and just use it, insert a piece of text and get back what Google has understood based on that piece of text. And so the piece of text that we have inserted here is SE Ranking is one of the most reliable SEO software in the world, with more than 600,000 users worldwide and state-of-the-art technology that you can't find elsewhere. Okay, that's fine. Can Google make any meaning outside of this piece of text? As a matter of fact, we can see that when it comes to entities, Google has identified things like SE Ranking as other. In some cases, it could, identify it as a company, for example, or organization, to be more precise. SEO software, consumer good, location, world, elsewhere, number 1, 600,000, and users and technology. So as you can see, just by analyzing this simple piece of text, we can understand that Google is very capable and good when it comes to making sense of words. And if you want to see it from a macro perspective, Google is also very good at understanding what a website as a whole is all about. It can do it on a page level. It can do it on a website level. And when it comes to entities, let me just say that there are different types of entities. We have person, location, organization, event, consumer good, address, and so on and so forth. These are all, as I see it at least, in Google's tool set, tools in order to help it make the right associations as to what a passage is about, what a page is about, and at the end of the day, what a website is all about. Now,
Sorry, George, how would somebody go about getting to that API to have a look at that content, that text?
we can drop the link in the after we finish with the presentation. That wouldn't be a problem.
Perfect, thank you.
Okay. So we mentioned briefly Google's knowledge graph, which essentially is nothing more than Google's way of organizing information. And entities is a very important part of that knowledge graph, okay? And we can see that Google is very capable, obviously this is just an example, okay? But it's very capable of making associations about companies, about people, about anything in our world and anything in the world of information, okay? And what I want you to keep in mind, and this is fundamental in understanding, how to manage to build topical authority for your website, is that you have to start thinking of your website in a similar way like Google is organizing information. You have to start thinking your website and start organizing information similar to a knowledge graph. And you have to start thinking about making associations between the different pages on your website, sections on your website, and so on and so forth. So this was a nice intro, okay? But we have to be a bit more practical about things. So what are the ways of building topical authority for a website, which is obviously what interests most people who are here with us today? We have two ways. The first, externally. The second, internally. When we talk about external topical authority building, we essentially mean activities that happen outside of the website. And in most cases, these are activities that we have less control over because it happens outside of the website. We will see an example in a minute. When we talk about internal topical authority building, this involves activities that happen on the website. And in most cases, we have more control over. In this webinar, we are going to focus mostly on internal topical authority building. Okay, external could be the topic of a different webinar. But before we move forward with internal topical authority building, let me just say a couple of things about topical authority building externally. Okay, because there are many misconceptions about whether or not, for example, this is effective, or whether or not or how it can be performed. So if I had to share with you a couple of principles when it comes to building topical authority externally, would be that you have to try to acquire backlinks and unbiased mentions. When I say mentions, it could be that your brand is mentioned in the context of something that is relevant to what you are doing, what your business is all about. And you don't have to have a backlink in order to be associated topically. A mention that's contextually relevant and unbiased is enough, but it has to be from a relevant website, on a relevant page on that website, from contextually relevant passages and sections in that page, with relevant and naturally placed anchors, if there is going to be a link, actually a backlink, and to a page that is indeed relevant on your website and adds value to the user if they were to click on that link. Okay. Now, talking about naturally placed vs biased mentions, if any of us, is engaged in link building activities, if we were asked which link would you prefer if you were SE ranking, for example, I guess that most of us would say that I would prefer SEO software. And not only that, but I would like all the backlinks that I have to have SEO software, this exact match anchor text. But what I'm trying to say is that we have to think beyond that, because Google already thinks beyond that and understands, or if it is not able to understand right now, it will definitely be in the future when a placement is biased and when a placement is naturally placed. So if you ask me, I would prefer to have the first one. SEO ranking is one of the most reliable SEO software in the world. Okay, this for me sounds more natural, and it doesn't sound as biased. And one thing that I'd like to share with you, even though this screenshot doesn't really depict the keywords that are important here. We have keywords. This is a screenshot from SE ranking, and we are analyzing, excuse me, our own website, minucia.com. Okay, we are, as I mentioned at the beginning, an agency that works primarily with B2B software companies. So anyone would assume that keywords such as SaaS SEO agency, SaaS content marketing agency, these are keywords that are important to us. And the interesting thing is that we have started getting visibility for such keywords. Okay, not in high enough positions, but we have started getting visibility for those keywords for the homepage, even if we have never, we don't even use the word SaaS SEO somewhere in our homepage. How does that happen? I make many assumptions in my free time on why, but I would say that because of mentions that we have gotten online, because of the podcast that we have, which is called, by the way, the SaaS SEO. So we have seen an increase in the number of keywords that we have started to get for our homepage that include SaaS as a modifier since we started our podcast, and so on and so forth. So all these signals, quote unquote, show me that there are many things that happen externally that in most cases we don't have as much control over, but can affect and can help us build topical authority. Okay. Any questions so far before we move forward?
We've had a couple, but more so from kind of my perspective. So whether there is anything that you would say, whether there's any case studies, or whether there's anything that you would indicate on how much that entity knowledge is gained via schema, whether that's something you have any experience with in terms of case studies.
That's a very good question, Jessica. To be completely honest with you, we don't have as much experience with schema markup. For me, as we will see later on, is mostly about understanding and getting deep into understanding what are, let's say that we have a topic, CRM, for example. Okay, what are all the subtopics that we have to talk about in order to start building ourselves as authorities in the eyes of Google for that specific topic? And our way and our approach does not involve so much schema implementation, as much keyword research, content creation, and many other things, obviously.
Yeah, I think from kind of personal experience, podcasts have seemed to be a really good way for growing that topical authority, because you've almost got all these different locations where a podcast can be housed. So you've got your website, you've got the third-party platforms, your streaming platforms, and all of those. And something that seems, how easy it is to speak for an hour and get those words out there, and then if you have something transcribing it, that's linked to you as an individual, but then linked to your company and linked to what you're speaking about. And by having that sheer volume of content, which, I like typing, but I think typing as much as I could speak in an hour would be quite difficult. So do you think that's kind of playing into this topical authority build as well?
Definitely. And we have seen this happen with obviously our own brand, but with clients as well. And nowadays we kind of push our clients to think differently when it comes to organic search, because we have seen that it's not only the things that we do on the website that matter when it comes to building topical authority, but a simple thing, let's say that it's simple, it's not so simple, but a simple thing that like creating and launching a podcast and rolling out episodes out there can indeed, at least with our own experience, have an impact in building topical authority externally.
Yeah, no, definitely. I think I found a similar way that, a podcast can be launched, and especially where you have lower volume keywords, and, a couple of days later, that transcription and that page that podcast episode's on can then be ranking quite highly, if not, those top positions, because of the sheer amount of relevant content that's then being shared.
Yeah, totally agree with you. And we have experienced great results with that ourselves. Any more questions before we move forward?
We have one. Do I need to target every keyword in the niche?
Yeah, and we will share more about that in a minute.
Perfect.
But the short answer is yes, but but there is more. There is more. Okay. So I guess that we can continue. As I mentioned, we will focus on this webinar on internal topical authority building. And once again, we have two types here. First of all, we have horizontal. And building topical authority horizontally means that, excuse me, we try to cover different topics without diving deep into each of the topics that we are covering. And we have vertical. Building topical authority vertically means that we try to cover as many subtopics now as we can for the specific topics that we are interested in. Now, building topical authority horizontally for a topic, a very broad topic like marketing, would entail covering subtopics that Google, rest assured, has associated with the main topic of marketing, like con marketing, email marketing, affiliate marketing, social media marketing, video marketing, influencer marketing, conversational marketing, B2B marketing, and so on and so forth. So in order for us to, if we, our goal was to be associated with marketing, the broad topic of marketing in the eyes of Google, we would have to definitely include in the form possibly of categories on our website, or subfolders, topics like con marketing, email marketing, affiliate marketing, and so on and so forth. This is horizontally. And I would say that horizontal and vertical is a great way to help us understand how we can organize the information. Okay. Now, an example of that, and full disclaimer, the screenshot of the website that I'm sharing is a client of ours, Respona, which is an email outreach software. But as an email outreach software, you can see that Respona is organizing their categories in their blog, as you can see here: email outreach, public relations, link building, content marketing, influencer marketing. Why? Because these are the subtopics that Respona wants to be associated with in general. Okay. Now, having these categories enough so that Respona can be associated with each of these categories, such as email outreach? The answer is no. And this is where vertical authority building comes into play. Because if, for example, we wanted to be associated with a term like like content marketing, okay, then we would have to go a step further and cover all the possible topics that are included in that topic. Okay. And we have as an example here, what is con marketing strategy, examples, services, tips, tools, plan, calendar, video con marketing, and so on and so forth. But the thing is that we shouldn't think just in terms of keywords. What are the relevant keywords that include the term con marketing? Because remember what we said earlier, Google is very smart and is becoming smarter and smarter day in and day out. Why? Because at this point, it can understand whether or not a specific term or search query is relevant to a specific topic, even if there is no the term essentially is not included inside that query. Okay, and we will see an example in a minute. Now, we have, and I would like you to take this, what I'm about to share with you right now, and start thinking about that when you are examining several topics for your own website. This is how we do it internally at Minutia, okay? And just today, if I'm not mistaken, we published a guide on our blog about this specific process. Now, let's take a website like swagdrop.com. Full disclaimer, once again, one of our clients, okay? If you put that with using, or any other website for that matter, by the way, if you put that in Google, you will see that you get a specific number of results that Google has in its index for this domain. let me just say for the record that this number will vary from day to day depending on when you use that advanced search operator, let's say. But we can see that for a website like swagdrop.com, and for our example, there are 96 results in Google Sys Index. So far, so good. Let's say that, and by the way, let me take one step back and explain that swagdrop.com is a branded merchandise and promotional products company. Okay, so what they are doing is that they create branded swag, like caps, hats, and so on and so forth. Okay, so if we take this a step further and want to see how many results compared to the 96 that we had in the previous slide, remember, Google has associated for this specific domain with a topic like promotional products. We can see that in this case, we have 93 out of 96 results, which means that this website for this specific topic, it seems that, it's doing a great job when it comes to trying to associate itself with promotional products. Now, let's use another term, employee onboarding. Not so relevant, okay? Or maybe it is, because companies are looking for new hire welcome kits for the new people who are joining their companies. As we can see, for this specific topic, Google has associated 26 results out of the 96 that we saw in total. So we definitely have a difference between this and that. And this shows us that if we were to target a term that were topically relevant to promotional products, chances are that we would have, our expectations would be better than employee onboarding, okay? When it comes to rankings, of course. Let's take this a step further and see a term that's completely relevant when it comes to branded swag and promotional products. SEO. What does SEO has to do with such a website? We can see that Google has associated one page from that website with the topic of SEO, okay? And if we want to take this a step further, we can check for a topic, like audience intelligence, which is completely relevant. And we can see that Google has the same understanding. They tell us essentially that, no, there are no results in our index that this specific domain is in any way relevant to audience intelligence, okay? If you want me to associate you with audience intelligence, well, you have to do something about it, okay? Any questions so far?
Yeah, we have had a couple more come in. What I was kind of wondering, would you say that in terms of when you're speaking about the vertical and horizontal, that it's similar to the more traditional category and pillar, or, pillar and cluster kind of style of content?
That's a very good question. I would say that it's a way of, as I see it at least, Jessica, is a way of organizing information. If you're going to do it, and we are going to see, by the way, an example of a topic cluster, but if you're going to do it with a topic cluster or not, that's up to you to decide. But all I'm trying to say is that we have to start thinking, first of all, vertically and then horizontally when it comes to topical authority.
Yeah. So when it comes to kind of how somebody might pre-plan their content, trying to gain this authority, is there too much? Can there be too many different elements once you've done the horizontal and you go vertical? Can there be too much information that you can give?
You have to be practical. And the reason is you don't want to spread yourself too thin. For example, what we saw earlier about marketing. If you are going to try to build topical authority for each of these categories that are included in the main topic of marketing, email marketing and content marketing and so on and so forth, chances are, unless you have very deep pockets, you are not going to make it. It's better for me as I see it. And by the way, this is exactly what we say to our clients as well. Don't spread yourself too thin unless you have unlimited resources. If you ask me, and if I was going to build a new website today, I would focus on just one category and I would go as deep as I could for that specific category.
Yeah, I think niching, exactly what it is the key these days, because there is so much out there, and like you say, without an infinite budget and infinite time to work on all those different things, somebody else can be doing it while you sleep. So I think niching is a really good point.
Yeah, definitely. Do we have anything else before we move forward?
Yeah, so Mark has said, how do you decide when topical authority goes too far and topics may be but related but not relevant? So do you use a tool, or do you use data, or do you kind of use this example that you've got here, kind of winging it?
Bear with me in a minute. We will give a very good answer about that.
Perfect. There you go.
Okay, so we can move forward, I guess. Yes.
Yeah.
That's great. So a question here would be, obviously, even though we kind of touched upon that just now, what is the best way? And the answer is that there is no best way, because the best way of building an authority is a combination of horizontal and vertical. It's not like they compete with each other. And we have to do that by taking into consideration a website's identity, overall business goals and objectives, resources, as I mentioned previously, and budget, and time constraints as well. Okay, so we have to think practically, and I would say that a healthy combination of the two is the best, but always we have to take into consideration several factors that are obviously case specific, but some of them are not, like resources. Resources are very important when it comes to how you can do things and what you can expect to get as a result of your efforts. Now, if we were to share, like we did with internal topical authority building, some principles of building topical authority externally, we would say that we have to start thinking about entities and topics and not keywords, which is something that we mentioned briefly earlier. Because let's face it, it's easy for anyone to use an SEO software like SEO Ranking, for example, and discover all the relevant keywords based on a specific topic, such as the examples that we shared earlier on content marketing. But this isn't enough, because we have seen and we have explained in the beginning that Google's sophistication goes way beyond that, and it can make associations and understand that, you know what, when you're talking about content marketing, for example, in order for me to associate you with content marketing, I don't want to see only keywords that include the term content marketing inside, because I have way more topics that are associated with that topic inside my knowledge graph. Okay, and this brings us to the second point, which is that we have to think about, terms that are obvious and terms that may be supporting to those terms. And we will share an example in a minute. Next, we have to think about information gap and not keyword gap, because once again, it's easy to identify keywords. It's not easy to identify how do I compare and stack up against other websites in my niche that I want to, let's say, emulate their success, and what terms and topics are they covering, and these topics and terms have helped them build topical authority that I can cover. And obviously credit for that goes to Koray Tugberg for sharing this piece of information. We have to think about information gap, not keyword gap. Next, we need to have, which I guess Jessica kind of touches upon what you mentioned earlier, a clear and logical taxonomy. And these can be connected to having a well-defined URL architecture. And we will see an example in a minute. And obviously, all these things matter. And we have to start understanding that on a page level, internal linking structure and anchor texts for linking from one page to another, for pages that we want to associate with a specific topic, all these things matter. And obviously, on-page optimization matters as well, such as title tags, meta descriptions, headings, and so on and so forth. We will see an example in a minute. Now, if I were to share a couple of things on what to pay attention to when you're trying to build topical authority for your website, I would say that in general, and in most cases, SEO tools report averages and past data. Okay, there are obviously great tools in the market that you can use, and you have to use them. Don't get me wrong, but you have to approach the way you conduct keyword research a bit differently, and you have to think in a similar way as Google, as a search engine that is using semantic associations in order to serve the results that we all see daily. You have to cover and consider including in your strategy zero volume keywords, because this may be a topic that a page that you need to create, even though there is zero volume, in order to be topically associated with a specific topic. One thing that I'd like to mention is that you shouldn't try to be HubSpot. For those of you who are aware of HubSpot, they have built a tremendous organic visibility. But the truth is that if you're going to try to do that, as I mentioned previously, you will spread yourself too thin and most likely fail. Because let's face it, you can't build topical authority for all these different categories. Pick one, and I would say tackle that one first. It will take you a while, and then move to the next one. Topic clusters, I would say that topic clusters are good, and in general, not in general, but in some cases, we recommend them, and I will share a case of that in a minute. Please bear with me. You have to definitely include and search for topics that your competitors are missing. An advice that I have for you, if you are actively creating content, is do not try to scale content production before you have a solid process in place and you are sure that this process works. And last but not least, because we are a content marketing agency, don't go cheap when it comes to content. I would say that if you go cheap with content, this is something that you will find moving forward in front of you, and you will have to deal with it. Okay, and so at this point, let's take a look at some examples that I think are really, really interesting. So let me stop sharing now my presentation, and let me just say before we begin that credit for this process goes to Steve Toth from the SEO Notebook, who, as far as I'm concerned, for the first time shared this tactic. We have here, as you can see, in a similar way with how we saw earlier with SwagDrop, we have a website that we know that when it comes to online trading, the topic of online trading has a great visibility, and I would say that rightly so. We have Investopedia.com site, online trading, and you can see that we have 47,000 search results in Google Search Index that has been associated with that topic. And if you just scroll down and start seeing the results, you can see that we have anything from learn how to trade the market, stock simulator, choosing an online stockbroker, online trading academy, best trading platforms and brokerage accounts, and so on and so forth. Okay, and rest assured that in these pages there are definitely pages that are not just a variation of the keyword online trading. This is why we have to stop thinking about keywords, or at least think less about keywords and start thinking about topics and entities. Okay, we have a website that I mentioned earlier, HubSpot, that we know has a great visibility when it comes to content marketing. Okay, and once again, rightly so. The ultimate guide to content marketing. We can see 109,000 results. Okay, and we can see the ultimate guide to content marketing, how to develop a content strategy, content marketing strategy, content marketing certification course, and so on and so forth. This is not something easy, obviously. Okay, this is why I mentioned earlier that it's better to tackle the topical categories that you're interested in one by one. Otherwise, you will spread yourself thin, unless if you have unlimited resources. This is a completely different discussion. Then we have a website that we know has tremendous visibility when it comes to mental health, the topic of mental health. And once again, the same pattern. Why? Because it has almost 72,000 results associated in the eyes of Google for that topic, healthline.com, okay? And we can see mental health resources, types of mental illness, types of mental health professionals, depression, and so on and so forth. And definitely in these results, you will find some that you wouldn't expect that Google has associated with the topic of mental health for this specific website. Next, we have nerdwallet.com, which we know is associated with the topic of credit cards. And once again, we can see the same pattern. Okay, we have many results here, and rightly so. The best credit cards of March 2022, rewards credit cards, cashback credit cards, 4 easy steps to pick the right credit card for you, and so on and so forth. Even best credit cards for bad credit, and so on and so forth. Okay, so as you can see, and we are talking about great websites, obviously, and great brands that have done a tremendous job when it comes to content creation. And I think that they have a very good level of understanding when it comes to the fact and the reality that in order to build topical authority, either we like it or not, volume and the number of pages that we have associated with a particular topic matters. Okay, and here, speaking of topic clusters, we have, full disclaimer, once again, our client, we have a topic cluster that we are building. It's in progress right now on product launch, and this is a referral marketing software, Viral Loops. Okay, and we are building a topic cluster on the topic of product launch, because guess what? Product launch is relevant to referral marketing, because many businesses who are launching new products are going to launch a referral marketing campaign. And as you can see here, we have everything under product launch. Everything is clean and tight. And we have a table of contents on the left of the screen. And we cover several subtopics, let's say, that are important when it comes to product launch: strategy, checklist, presentation, timeline, metrics, marketing plan, software, press release, and so on and so forth. And obviously, we have our main page, which works in this case as a hub for the whole thing. And we, start with the basics, with things that a beginner, let's say, would think of and have as questions, such as what is a product launch, and move further with all the chapters that we have created so far. And if you want to take this a step further, you will see that, for example, if we're talking about strategy, you can see that everything is under product launch strategy. That's great. And we are covering everything that someone needs to know when it comes to product launch strategy. And once again, table of contents, we try to add internal links in a natural and contextually relevant way inside the content from one page to another, and so on and so forth. Okay, so I would say that in general, topic clusters are good, and this approach of having everything under one page, one subfolder, you can call it however you like, is a way that we believe in some cases can work great in order to help Google that understand that, what, right now you are at a section of my website and you are going to learn about product launch. And from then onwards, Google has already a context of what's going on in this section and what I'm about to find in the next pages as I crawl further, as I crawl deeper. Okay. And that's pretty much it.
Would you say, just kind of a personal question really, is would you say there's a particular area or a particular, when it comes to not so much worrying about those keywords, that keyword volume, do you do any research around kind of trends or anything that you think? So I know you mentioned not getting so bothered by keyword volume or, things like that, looking more at some trends data to know that something may well be popular in the future.
That's a great point, and a great example here is a topic like NFTs, for example. where new things, new terms pop up almost daily. I'm not an NFT enthusiast or anything like that, but I know that it's an area that's moving very, very fast. So I would definitely argue that watching trends and trying to keep up with information as it evolves, because let's not forget that when something happens, when a new topic arises, it takes a place in Google's knowledge graph. So this means that if you want to be associated with that topic, you definitely have to take a look at trends and monitor trends. And let's not forget that SEO software in most cases report averages and past data, which means that they are not able to predict a trend as it emerges. So I would argue that you definitely have to monitor your industry, your niche as closely as possible, and try to, try to essentially integrate that as part of your strategy.
Perfect. So I think we've got a couple more questions in the chat. So again, just kind of how do you deal with topical authority for e-com sites? Do you do it based on products, or do you do it more based on the information topics, the info topics related to those products?
That's a great question, and I would argue here, if you want, Mark, you can let us know what your website is all about, just to make it, if I can, more specific to you. But I would argue that you definitely have to try to talk about, not just products. Don't focus so much on products, because products, I would say, is just the tip of the iceberg. Okay, it's what's below that, underneath that, that makes the iceberg move and makes it have the visibility in the top of the search results. So in general, I would say that you definitely have to make sure that you cover everything around the products that you have and that you sell on your website.
Perfect. I think we've got a couple more questions. So what would you say is the limit between topic clusters and then keyword cannibalization?
That's a great question. I would say that we are using a tool here, Cluster AI, which essentially tells you for a set of keywords that you can get with the help of a tool like SE Ranking, for example, a keyword data provider like SE Ranking. You can pull data from SE Ranking, put them into Cluster AI, and it will essentially, especially if we're talking about a new website, a new strategy, let's say, tell you that for this keyword, you have to create a new page. For this keyword, you have to create another page, and so on and so forth. So that you don't cannibalize, let's say, pages on the search. But let me just say something here, because I would say that keyword cannibalization, at least as I see it, and I may be wrong, but quite frankly, I don't see it as a bad thing. What is not bad, but what is not recommended is having overlapping information, like having information on your website that's going over the same topic over and over and over again. That's something that I wouldn't recommend. But when it comes to a couple of pages ranking for the same keyword, there's no harm in that, at least as far as I'm concerned. But having several pages, I would say, compete for the same term, as I see it, at least, not a big deal.
Perfect. And a couple more. So can you provide a couple of specific entities?
That's a great question. The thing is that, as we all know, Google is a black box, and an entity, as we mentioned previously, can be anything. You can just essentially insert a piece of text and see what Google's understanding is for that piece of text, and it can tell you how it perceives entities in that piece of text. It could be anything from Google to a person, a celebrity, to a place, to a number, to pretty much anything. So I wouldn't say that it's something specific. It can be anything. It's a way of organizing information.
Perfect. And the in terms of the system that you had to show what those entities were, so what was that URL that you could put that Google API?
Yeah, let me just, I don't know what's the best way to do that, because I guess that everyone wants to visit that page now. But
Yeah,
I
we're
guess,
going to break that page now.
yeah, I don't know if there's going to be an email to the people who were here with us today, but there will be definitely the link to the NLP API, which you can use for free.
Perfect.
It's not a secret, by the way. It's not a secret.
And any more questions? Yeah, so that's the same in terms of where they can get that example. So if I'm in real estate and I'm selling houses in a city, for example, in New York City, do I need to target some keywords about that city for its spaces, known places in that city?
That's a good point. And the short answer is, even though I'm by no means an expert when it comes to real estate SEO or anything like that, I would assume that yes.
Yeah, I would say looking into some of those different areas, some specifics, whether there's a particular area within New York that you were looking at, or whether there was something, again, as we both mentioned earlier, looking into that niche really specifically to build out on that, whether it's a type of real estate, whether it's a specific area, and trying to pin down on that.
Yep.
And one more question: do you do random blogs of the same topic with a good internal linking structure mean the same as a topic cluster strategy?
I would say that's a good question, but I would say that everyone, and as we all know, SEO is a very opinionated field. Everyone has their own opinions and understanding of and definitions of what a topic cluster is, for example. For me, a topic cluster is what I shared with you earlier with viral loops and the product launch topic cluster that we are building. But for someone else, this may be no. So I would say that it depends to answer your question, but I would say that all these little things matter. The URL architecture, how you structure information inside the topic cluster, how you add internal links, and what are the anchor tags. All the things that we mentioned matter when it comes to helping Google makes the right associations for these pages, and as an extension for the whole website or the section of the website.
Perfect. Yeah, I think that's all the questions. So yeah, no more questions. So I'll just go back to our presentation ever so briefly. So as I mentioned at the start, attendees to this webinar today can get an extended free trial of a whole month. So simply scan this QR code or follow the link, which will shortly be in the chat as well, and you can get that free trial for a month. And there is also a really, really good SEO basics course that I would recommend you have a look into with Jason Barnard, which is available for free as well. Again, scan the QR code or simply visit the link, which will also be in the chat.
Hooray! Another sunny day for you and me and me and you. Hooray! Right, please. Hi everyone. I'm Jason Barnard, and I'm super happy to welcome you to the SE Ranking Academy, where you'll find a course on SEO basics that's comprehensive, well-structured, professional, and fun. 9 major topics, each with a dedicated module, 40 plus lessons, over 6 hours of video, certification at the end. We'll go through every topic step by step, breaking complex issues down into small, clear and digestible chunks. No vague assertions, everything is practical and case-based. If you run a business and want to start getting traffic from Google, this course is for you. If you're a marketer who wants to learn more about SEO and find out how to use data for online marketing, this course is for you. Or if you have no previous experience in SEO and want to climb onto the first rung of the ladder for a new career, this course is for you. Come to think of it, this course is for everybody. Join our course and you'll finally understand how to make SEO work for you. Off we go. It was so peaceful and loving at the end. Oh, I love you, my audience.
Don't know about you, but I think that little outro makes me want to do it just to spend however many hours, 6+ hours with Jason.
That's my favorite video.
Yeah. It's so energizing and just, yeah, so happy. So once again, thank you, obviously, everyone, for joining us today. And yeah, if you can help in any way, please do head to the link in the chat box to support Ukraine. Thank you, obviously, for joining us today. Thank you, George, for your wonderful presentation and your hints and tips. I've jotted down a few for myself, and I'm sure, following by the amount of questions, a lot of the watchers did as well. And thank you, SE Ranking, that even with everything currently happening in Ukraine, for putting on such a fantastic webinar. So thank you, everyone, for your time today. And yeah, if you have any other questions, I'm sure you can get George on LinkedIn, and myself as well if you have any other questions.